Blog Talk Radio.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Light Sports Ramble. It is a beautiful day in Pittsburgh. I am Troy Otradovic. As always, I am joined with my co-host, Evan Watallison. Evan, a lot of stuff to talk about today. A lot of playoff scenarios. But how's the weather out in Wisconsin today? Because it's beautiful out here in Pittsburgh.
Well, the sun is. It was foggy this morning, but the sun is shining. It is kind of on the chilly side. It's upper 20s, but it's kind of chilly still. But the sun is shining, and it's not very many clouds in the sky, so it's pretty decent weather here today.
Yeah, it would be a beautiful day no matter what with the news that we got after we were off the air yesterday. I know you and I were on the phone after in our post conversation, listening to Mike McCarthy announce that Aaron Rodgers will start on Sunday. And I gave out a little woohoo in my office, and then we said our goodbyes, and then we caught up today. But that was good news, and you and I were chatting that all of a sudden the Packers went from a projected underdog in Vegas to now a 3-point favorite now that Rodgers is the starter. So if we have time at the end, we'll talk about that impact because we got a lot of playoff stuff to talk about today. But before we get into the NFL playoff scenarios, let's give the listeners a quick injury update from the Packers. A lot of stuff happened today and things that could affect Sunday and potentially the playoffs based on what happened today. So give the fans a Packer injury update, bud.
Well, I'll start with Clay Matthews. He had thumb surgery today to repair the thumb he re-broke on Saturday. From my understanding, it was a pretty nasty break. So we'll no timetable on his return, but we'll see how long it takes him to return. I doubt we'll see him again if Packers end up making the playoffs, but he should be hopefully ready to go by training camp with that thumb injury. Randall Cobb practiced again today. McCarthy didn't give any indication if he was going to activate him or not. He said that he would make that decision tomorrow. Now, I had said yesterday that I'm guessing what would happen is Matthews would go to IR and Cobb will be activated. But I just realized today the Packers have 2 open roster spots, thanks to Tyler Dunn, who was on the morning show for 1250, the Chuck and Wicked show that I was interning at this morning. Dunn was a guest down there, and he brought it up that they have 2 roster spots from putting Bostic and no, it wasn't Tyler Dunn. It was during the Bill Michaels show. But they mentioned that putting Bostic and Jelly on the IR, they didn't make any roster moves after that. So they do have 2 roster spots open. But if Cobb does play Sunday, look for him to be activated tomorrow.
That'll be good. Like you and I were kind of joking about, I think the Packers will know tomorrow. We probably wouldn't find out till Sunday. But like you said, the way that the world of technology is today, it'll leak out. But I think they'll know tomorrow whether or not he's going to go. I hope he does. I think it'll give us another added dimension.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll see him, in for 40 snaps. I think you'll see him in for 10 to 20.
No.
But I think those 10 to 20 could be different.
I agree.
Yeah, 10 to 20 snaps, and it could be a difference, maker in the game. And plus, if you and I both think the Packers are going to win. So when they win, that gives him a little bit of that ramp up to be prepared for the playoffs and eventually work back into game shape because you and I both know he was having a heck of a year before he broke his leg. And he really has adjusted to that slot position. So, well, I know you have all the games in front of you, Evan. I've got the playoff scenarios up.
Some very quick general.
Oh, go ahead.
Let's say some very quick general NFL injury news that is going to implicate possibly the playoffs seedings. Is Steve Smith is out for Week 17 against Atlanta. So that could be a huge blow to Carolina since Steve Smith is out. They don't really have any other wide receivers on that team that is a big threat. And Tony Romo is also out after having back surgery today.
Yeah, you and I had talked about the Romo injury earlier on Twitter Talk, and I had said at this point, I think Orton might be a good fit for Sunday. I still think the Eagles are going to win that game, but I think Orton becomes a game manager, and I was listening this morning on NFL AM, and they said that the Cowboys didn't need a game manager because of their poor defense. I kind of disagreed at that point, and I'll throw it out to you, Evan, before we get into our playoff scenario. But if he's a good game manager against the Eagles and he can control the clock, it'll keep McCoy and that Eagles offense on the sideline. At least that's my thought. But again, I'm an idiot with an opinion. And I think Orton is nothing more than a game manager. He reminds me of the Alex Smith. Orton's going to be a good game manager for you. If you throw him into a situation where Orton's got to put up 28 points, it's not going to happen. He's going to turn the ball over. But if you ask him to manage the game and to go on long drives and hand the ball off to DeMarco Murray, I think it can be pretty effective. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And I guess we'll start right off with the Philly-Dallas game. I agree completely. Kyle Orton is a very capable quarterback. He's had some success in the league. And he really, at this point in his career, is really nothing more than a game manager. He can throw the deep ball a little better than Alex Smith can. But at this point, that's really all he is just a game manager. And I don't see, I see, if Dallas is able to keep Philadelphia's offense off the field, they have a shot. But I don't see how Dallas wins the game.
Yeah,
to be honest.
With that defense, the way that Chip Kelly runs that offense, they like to get to the line. They like to call the plays fast. They like to score fast. They don't care about time of possession. And, I'm saying, and I'm kind of contradicting myself there, but what you got to do if you're the Cowboys is you have to try and get long, sustained drives and then finish them in touchdowns. And that's almost asking for a perfect offensive game on Sunday. And I don't see it happening. I see Philadelphia being able to take care of business in Dallas. So, well, let's stay in the NFC then Evan. We already discussed Green Bay, Chicago. We know what's going to happen there in the playoff scenario. Whatever team wins is the division champ. They go to the playoffs. We both agree Green Bay's winning. Aaron Rodgers is back. Now there's another interesting game. It's the Arizona game, and I'll let you take over from here. But Arizona, I think, is probably one of the most underrated teams all year. Still alive in the playoffs, but let's preview this game really quick. They need a win and a New Orleans loss. So what do you think about the Arizona game?
Well, the Arizona game is definitely interesting. San Francisco's already in the playoffs. They can clinch a division title, I believe, with a Seattle loss and a San Francisco win. I believe San Francisco, from what I've heard, would get the nod in the division.
You are correct.
If they win and Seattle loses. So San Francisco has a lot to play for. Arizona's got a lot to play for. So it's going to be a very interesting matchup. Arizona has a very strong defense. Carson Palmer had 4 interceptions last week, but he's a veteran. He knows how to get the job done. But that's a tough San Francisco defense for him to go up against. And last time they played, Carson Palmer just got knocked around that entire game. And I see San Francisco winning due to Arizona not having a stable running game and Carson Palmer coming off a 4-interception performance. I think he's going to continue to turn the ball over. He just hasn't been the same running back since that knee injury he had years ago back in Cincinnati. So Arizona, I see losing to San Francisco, and they've had a great year bouncing back from last year, but I just don't see them beating San Francisco and making the playoffs.
And I agree with you on this.
You said they need New Orleans to lose.
Yeah, they need New Orleans to lose, but they got to take care of their business first, and I don't think they do. I think right now, I don't
see New Orleans losing either.
And here's the one thing. I'm kind of hoping, at this point, I know Seattle's been the tough team, and we'll talk at the end if we've got time. I think San Francisco right now is playing some really good football. And if the things shook out the way they're going to shake out now, we're gonna fall in as the 4 seed as Packers. And at this point, very likely the 49ers, if Seattle wins, would be the 5th seed. I mean, at least they're coming to Lambeau Field. But, man, that San Francisco team is playing really good football right now. It would be nice to see this happen where they're not the 5th seed because of all the teams, I would rather, in my mind, face Seattle at this point because I think San Francisco is just hitting their stride right now, playing good football. And I don't see Arizona getting by them. But
yeah, I would like San Francisco to lose and New Orleans to win. And, if New Orleans can get that fifth seed, that means New Orleans goes to Green Bay first round of the playoffs. I'd rather have Green Bay matched up with New Orleans in the opening round if our predictions are right and Green Bay wins on Sunday.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd rather see New Orleans and Green Bay.
I don't want to see San Francisco right away, right off the bat. I think they're playing good football right now. So, let's talk then about New Orleans. They are actually still in a hunt for the division title. Of all the games, this is probably the easiest of them all on paper. They play the Buccaneers. But they can clinch the NFC South with a win and a Carolina loss. So what do we think about this game? Saints, Buccaneers. How do you think that one turns out?
The Buccaneers have been playing much better football as of late than they were at the beginning of the year. Defensively, they've gotten better. Offensively, unfortunately, they have a hard time sustaining drives and moving the football. They have a very young quarterback, and they're playing in a place that's very tough to play. I don't see how Tampa Bay can go into New Orleans. Well, I believe New Orleans is undefeated at home, if I'm not mistaken. If they do have a loss, it's only one, maybe two. But they play really well at home, and I see Tampa Bay getting slaughtered. It's not even going to be a close game, I don't think.
Yeah,
I see New Orleans offense.
Nothing else to add.
All over Tampa Bay.
I have nothing else to add. You're right. They're going to the Saints, playing on the road. Yes, they have been playing a little better. Probably saved Schiano's job with the way they rebounded in the second half. But they're going to New Orleans, and I think they get killed. So that means
Schiano's been linked to Penn State, though, if Penn State job becomes available. So they may have saved Schiano's job, but Schiano might still leave.
Yeah, and, honestly, I could see him jumping back to the college game. I mean, he had a lot of success in the college.
Much better college coach.
Yeah, his style and his system, I think, fit the college game really good. I mean, he gave it a go, and, he did okay. Struggled a bit in the beginning, had a lot of locker room problems. But I honestly believe that he is a fit for college. He's one of those guys that can be a very good, successful college coach. So, yeah, we may see him gone, depending on what happens. But with that said, that means New Orleans wins. They got to hope for a Panthers loss then. Panthers travel to Atlanta. How do you think this game's going to turn out, bud?
Well, looking at the fact that Steve Smith is out, Carolina already has a number 25th ranked offense in the NFL. Not very good offensively. They do have a really good defense, but without Steve Smith, even with the bad Atlanta defense, I see them having a hard time moving the football. The game is going to be a lot closer than most people are going to think. Most people are probably looking at it and saying it's going to be a Carolina blowout. Atlanta doesn't stand a chance. But I see Atlanta winning. I see Atlanta winning by a field goal. They want to get Tony Gonzalez out on top. He's retiring at the end of this year. He's been the ultimate pro his entire career. So let's get him out with a win. And like I said, I see Carolina having a hard time moving the football against, which should be a motivated Atlanta team. So I see Atlanta winning that game by a field goal.
Man, it's crazy, Evan. We seriously seem to agree on 90% of everything we talk about. It's actually kind of creepy sometimes. I don't know how you feel about that, but we agree way too much, I think. So,
yeah.
The thing is, last game of the year, like you said, I was watching NFL AM this morning, and they had a little segment on Tony G's legacy. I agree with you. He's going to go out and he's going to play, and I'll call it balls out. He's going to leave every last ounce of effort on that field. I think that energy rejuvenates that offense that has by far performed below expectations this year. I know there's been some injuries, but I think this defense that has also been just thoroughly attacked all year is going up now against a Carolina team that's losing their top wideout. And so I agree. I think Atlanta wins this game. And so if that prediction holds true, Evan, we're not talking about the Saints coming to Lambeau. We might be talking about Carolina coming to Lambeau. because that means the Saints will win the division if our predictions hold true. But it'll be a fun weekend in the NFC to watch and see how it plays out. This crazy world of the NFL, you never know what's going to happen. So let's move into the AFC, where the AFC is a little more confusing. And when I look at where we're going to go, I'm not going to read down the scenarios that have to.
Confusing an understatement.
I'm looking at it. It's Miami win, Baltimore loss. Miami win, needs a San Diego win. Miami tie, Baltimore loss, blah, blah, blah. Every one has like 4 or 5 things that need to happen for every team. I'm going to start with the easiest team. The one that knows what has to happen. It's Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh knows they have to win. And then all 3 teams, Miami, Baltimore, and San Diego, all have to lose. Easy scenario for them. May not happen, but they know exactly what has to happen. None of this loss here by one team and a win by another. They win, everyone else loses, the Steelers are in. Let's just talk about Pittsburgh, though. Pittsburgh plays Cleveland at Heinz Field on Sunday. How do you see this game turning out, bud?
I see Pittsburgh winning. Cleveland's, they're 4-11, but, I'm not going to say Pittsburgh's going to win because Cleveland's 4-11, but looking at Pittsburgh, they have a lot to play for. They got one of the better quarterbacks in the league with Roethlisberger. The defense has been playing improved as of late, even though they just gave up 31 points to Green Bay. But Cleveland doesn't have the offensive weapons that Green Bay has. Even, without Rodgers in the game, Packers are still loaded on the offensive side. And I don't see Cleveland being able to run the football quite as effectively as Green Bay did against them. I see being that it's at Pittsburgh. I see Pittsburgh pulling out with the win. And we'll get into it in a couple games, but I don't see it being enough for them to make the playoffs now.
Yeah, I don't see it being enough either. I agree with you, though. I think Cleveland comes in. Big Ben always has a great game against Cleveland. Puts up great numbers. I like that Pittsburgh offense. I think, and I was listening to it this week, talk radio here in Pittsburgh, and they were talking about how Haley and Roethlisberger have adjusted to each other. And I think it's because Haley took the reins away a little bit, let Big Ben go into some of that faster paced, letting them call some of the plays on the field, and it's really worked. I mean, I looked at that game, and they've got some good offensive weapons. I like Brown. I had talked about this earlier. This was before you and I co-hosted. I thought Wallace leaving was a great thing for Brown. It was going to let him shine, and man, he really put up some big numbers this year. And I like that Pittsburgh offense, and I think they take care of business against Cleveland pretty handily. I don't think it might be close at first, but I think Pittsburgh rolls with this one. So let's get into, we'll start at the top. The team that owns the ultimate tiebreaker right now, if the playoffs ended today, Evan, Miami would be the 6th seed. So let's start with Miami. And when we look at this, they have to take care of business. They've got to win. And then they're going to control basically their own destiny. So you tell me how this game's going to turn out. The Jets in Miami, what do you think happens here?
Looking at the matchup, and look at the record-wise, just by looking at the records, if you were to look at the offensive stats, defensive stats for both teams, you would think, with the Jets and their 11th ranked defense would be the team fighting for the playoff berth. They would be the 8-17 instead of 7-8. So it's a very interesting matchup. I think the Dolphins win. I don't see the Jets pulling off the victory, to be honest. It's going to be a close game, and it's going to depend on Ryan Tannehill. I know Tannehill is bothered by a knee injury, but he is expected to play. And if Tannehill is able to get going, moving the football like he has been, the Dolphins should easily beat the Jets. Now, Tannehill has quietly put up a very solid season. He got 3,700 yards passing, 23 touchdowns. He's quietly put together a pretty solid season. And the Dolphins have a couple weapons at receiver, and one guy you mentioned, I think it was last week's Rambo, Charles Clay. I expect him to have a pretty solid game as well in this game. I see the Dolphins winning, and it's going to ruin a scenario I gave earlier this season with the Rambo, and that's going to add to San Diego's playoff chances. But I see the Dolphins winning the game.
Well, and finally, it's been a while. I disagree with you. I think the game comes down to Geno Smith, and I think the Jets are playing to save Ryan's job. If they win this game, I believe that Rex is back next year. And I think they're going to go out, they're going to play with a lot of emotion, and it's one of those things. You talk about Jekyll and Hyde with the Packers. The Jets are probably another Jekyll and Hyde team. Some weeks they go out and look like they are a playoff team. Other weeks they look like they've never played football in their life. And I think it comes down to Geno Smith, and I think that defense is going to create some turnovers, give the Jets some manageable field position so that Geno Smith isn't forced into having to be the hero. Because when he's forced, and I've seen it, and I'm going to give him the card, he's a rookie. But man, some of those balls that he throws, I don't know where he's thrown it to. But I think he's trying to force it. He's trying to do too much. I think the Jets, Week 17, they're going to play to save their coach's job. Defense steps it up, gives Geno manageable field position, and I think the Jets go down to Miami, and they ruin Miami's chance to go to the playoffs. So with that,
there's just disagree.
Yeah, we just disagreed, bud. It's like once a week. Yeah, it's like once a week only. Maybe we should just plan to disagree. But let's move because other things have to happen too. Even if Miami wins, they need a Baltimore loss. And so Baltimore is playing Cincinnati. And Baltimore needs this win and a bunch of other things to happen to get in the playoffs. But we got Baltimore and Cincinnati. What do you think about that game, bud?
Well, it's a pretty good matchup, but Baltimore is having some injury problems. Ray Rice is questionable. Elvis Dermoville is questionable. And I just don't see the Ravens being able to get it done. And Torrey Smith is questionable. So with those injuries going to Cincinnati needing a win, I see Cincinnati getting the win. Cincinnati's hoping to secure that number 3 spot, and they need that win and to secure that because I don't see Indianapolis losing to the Jaguars. So Cincinnati needs that win to be the number 3 seed. So I see Cincinnati pulling off the win and clinching that 3.
And I'm going to tell the listeners, we didn't plan this. I disagree again. I'm disagreeing again. Baltimore's going to win this, bud. I think Baltimore has been in these positions before. You and I have talked about Joe Flacco. We don't think he's an elite quarterback, but he's above average quarterback. But I think right now, I know Cincinnati has a lot to play for because they can still get a first-round bye with a New England loss. But I think Baltimore has been in these positions before, kind of with their back up against the wall. A little bit inconsistent here in the last couple of weeks, but I think I'm going to give the coaching edge to Baltimore. I'm going to give the quarterback edge to Baltimore, and I think Baltimore wins this game. So now we've disagreed on the first two. Let's move into the San Diego game because they need to win, and they need Baltimore and Miami both to lose to get into the playoffs. So let's talk about San Diego at Kansas City, and Andy Reid already said he's going to rest his starters. I don't agree with that. I don't.
At San Diego.
But Kansas City's going to rest their starters. So at Kansas City, San Diego playing. What do you think about this, bud?
Well, like I called last time these two teams played, I see San Diego playing out the win. San Diego's playing really good football right now. Phillip Rivers is playing really well. He's a quarterback that nobody ever talks about. He had a down year last year, but this year he's having an incredible year, 4,200 yards passing, 29 touchdowns. Ryan Matthews is having a solid season. He's got 1,111 yards rushing. I'm sure, like superstitious people out there hope he sticks at that one, the 11-11. And Keenan Allen is just having a huge year as a rookie. I expect him to break the 1,000-yard mark this week at 9:57. But I see San Diego for the second time this season beating the Kansas City Chiefs. And one of the big reasons is what you have said, Kansas City is possibly going to be resting a bunch of their starters. So San Diego gets the win. But unfortunately, with the Miami win, San Diego falls just short of the playoffs.
Yep, just short, but I think they're playing really good football. And I'm even going to go, I know Kansas City's resting their starters, and like I said, I don't agree with that. I don't ever agree with that. Let the guys play. I mean, unless there's an injury that needs some rest. But if I'm an athlete, I don't want rested. Let me play. I mean, maybe, a half. But I don't know. I don't ever agree with just resting a player because, we've made the playoffs. We're locked into our seed. Even if they play the starters, though, I like the way San Diego's playing. I think San Diego's going to win this game. They've been playing really good football. Had it not been for a couple tough losses in the beginning of the year, they would be a lot higher than where they are now. I think they got a good football team. I think Phillip Rivers had a great year. And, I think they win and just fall a little bit short. And the way that we've just predicted, you think Miami's going to make the playoffs. The way that I predicted it is that Baltimore's going to sneak in on my end. So we ran a straight agree on the NFC, Evan. We disagree in the AFC. So we'll see how it plays out on Sunday, bud.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, this was another great ramble. It was a perfect ramble. We got just over 3 minutes to go. Any other NFL news you want to share with the listeners before we let them go and enjoy the weekend?
Don't have any other NFL news, but just to throw, and you and too, 'cause I don't think you even know this, but if you're a listener in the Kenosha Racine area, tune into 1400 WRJN. I'm going to be helping out at the St. Catherine's High School is playing in a tournament at Carthage College, and I'm going to be helping out with stats and offering some commentary during that game. So, give it a listen if you're looking for something to do tonight.
Can I catch it on the internet?
Should be able to if you go to WRJN's website.
I'll try to catch you. I'll try to catch my co-host doing a little play-by-play. I'll see if I can find it, bud. That'll be.
It'd be more commentary. It'd be more commentary than play-by-play. The other guy does the play-by-play.
Just kick him out of his seat. Maybe put some hot pepper or something in his food and get him a little sick. That way you can just, hey, I'll do the play-by-play. But I'll definitely try to find it on the internet, bud.
He doesn't listen to this.
Well, that's not you, San. You blame it all on me. Just blame it on Troy. That Troy over there, he's the bad guy. He's a Green Bay guy, but he lives out in Pittsburgh. So, but other than that, Evan, it's going to be another exciting weekend in the NFL. I can't wait to tune in on Sunday. I'll tell you what, though, I hate the late game for the Packers. I hate that Eastern time for me, 4:25. I'm up at 6 in the morning no matter what. The internal alarm clock goes off. I can only get so much
90 seconds.
So much football before that Packer game, and now they pushed the game time back. And it just makes my nerves.
It's not a night game.
Yeah, it could be the night game. I'd really be freaking out. But, no, it should be a great weekend. With that said, the last thing that we'll say is, we're going to come back Monday. Evan and I both predict the Packers winning, Rodgers playing, and hopefully on Monday, Evan, we're talking about the Packers heading to the playoffs.
60 seconds.
So that after the New Year holiday, you and I can do another game preview. And hopefully it's a playoff preview come next week. But with that said, everyone, we wish you a very safe afternoon. We'll see you all at the next red light. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in.